So last week we made this nature corner together, and this week I want to show you how to make this cute little gnome. They're quick to make, they're very easy, and they're a great addition to our nature corner. So today we'll make this gnome, but I want to show you some different variations and also some different materials. As you can see, some gnomes look a bit more sturdy, like this, because they're made from wool felt, and these are made from synthetic felt, and as you can see it gets really fuzzy, and with wear and tear it's not as nice anymore. These gnomes had a lot of play, of course, but if you can afford and find the wool felt, I would recommend it. However, you can definitely make this with synthetic felt as well. These are made from synthetic felt, and as you can see they're still working. They just might get a bit more roughed up. Then I want to show you some different variations. You can not decorate everything, you can sew the cap together like here, but today we'll glue it together because that's a bit easier. And you can also sew the flaps and not decorate this edge if you would prefer. You can also just sew this part on. This one is sewn on, but as I said, today we will glue it because it's easier, and also we will glue the hat, we will not just sew it. And then there are different neck variations, from this both sides flap like this, that can be decorated or either just like this, or it can be just one side flap and the other side is left. This one had a flap, but it got unstuck. And of course, you can also add him a scarf or something and not care much about this. My kids sometimes draw the face, and you can do that too as well if you want to. In Waldorf schools, they prefer not to do that because they like the kids to imagine the expressions on the elf. In my experience, kids can imagine a different expression even if the elf is smiling. When they're playing, they will be able to imagine something else, but maybe that depends on the kids. My kids are pretty imaginary. And of course you can decorate the cap however you like. This is supposed to be a pine tree. It's not really good. This is a flower. This is a candle. And here's just some fireworks or something like that. This is a drop, raindrop, a cloud, just some snowballs, and a leaf, a moon. So it really depends. You can play around with this however you like. Today we won't decorate this part, but we will decorate the edges, so because that's a bit easier and more attainable. Now let's make this one. So what we'll need for our nature gnome? First of all, we need this kind of wooden base, and you can get them in many different shapes. Some are female, some are bigger, some are smaller, some have this cone shape and others are roundish, and others are just straight. And you will make your pattern according to your base. And of course we need some felt for our coat and for our hat. If you wish to adorn it, you might want to have a nice thread or embroidery thread or a yarn or something like that, and of course a needle to go with it. In any case, you'll need scissors for your felt, glue to glue the coat and cap on. I just use PVA glue, it's great for porous materials. And of course clothespins come really handy. They're not essential, but they come in really handy. And of course you need to subscribe to Very Arty Fairy. I keep everything in this lid of a shoebox. It's much easier when I move around and I don't have to keep searching for them. Now let's get to it. First of all, like and subscribe to Very Arty Fairy if you haven't already. And now we'll choose our pattern. I keep all my patterns in this little baggie, all the patterns for the different gnomes that we have, and then I just check which one fits my gnome. And I also have it written. Now that we have our pattern done, we can cut it out from our felt. My felt is real wool felt, but you could use synthetic felt as well. I just like the wool one more. It's natural and it is much sturdier as well. If you want, you can mark it first. I'm just using a normal pencil, technical, but the normal would be even better. Although the best way to mark it would be with a water-soluble fabric pen. But if you don't have it, don't worry. We just don't want these marks to be too visible, but you can always just turn and make this part the inside. So it's not such a big deal. And now we'll just cut this out. If you have them, use good fabric scissors for this. It's much easier. Before you make anything permanent, try if it fits. I could have used a bit more overlap here, but well, we'll work with what we've got. It's always best to fit first because the decorating takes quite a while and it makes no sense to decorate a piece that won't fit your gnome. I like to take a piece of thread and I'll just use a simple blanket stitch. This step is totally optional, however. Gnomes look nice with decorated heads and with normal heads as well. So if you're pressed for time or just don't enjoy this sewing process, just skip it and nothing bad will happen, I promise. If you enjoy some Zen stitching, then by all means do it. Now we have to glue things together. I'll keep my thread here. I'm taking my PVA glue, spreading it on the not decorated edge and then overlapping them. Do not touch it with this dirty finger, and because PVA glue seeps into it very easily, it might be a good idea to put the glue on both surfaces. If you will see that the glue already seeped, you might want to do this as well, so that it will really hold. Because if you will have your gnomes just for Nature Corner, that's not such a problem. But if these gnomes will be played with, and ours are played with a lot, then you will want to make them really sturdy. Now you will need those clothespins. And we'll wait for this to dry. Now that this is hopefully dry, we'll remove our clothespins. Now let's just go around the whole little cap. I like this variegated thread a lot. It makes things interesting without really trying much. Because otherwise you have to make an interesting design to get the same level of contrast and interest. Which is nice of course as well, but this is a bit quicker. The nice thing about this is that the last stitches will also hold these two parts together, which is really good. And we definitely want that to happen because it reinforces everything. And as I said, these gnomes get played a lot in our house, so they need to be sturdy. And as you can see, even the inside doesn't look that bad. So we'll just go in now and make a knot here so that it won't be visible. I still make a knot because I want these things to be sturdy. If you live alone, if you don't have small kids around, or kids in any, mine are not that small, but still, it still happens a lot. If you don't have kids in the house, well, then maybe you can not be so careful about the sturdiness, but if you do, I would recommend. And you see, it fits perfectly. Now I'll decorate this part as well, and I just go around and around. I check where the markings are, if they're visible, and if they were visible, which I don't see, then I would start on the other side. If you don't have a gnome base like this, you can make one from clay. It could be air dry clay or polymer clay, both would work. It's not difficult to make, and I can show you in the future if you'll be interested, but these wooden bases are not that difficult to get. Even in our little country we can get them. Don't worry about this part too much because it will be glued onto the gnome. For me, it's easier to first glue the cape because it's more challenging for gluing. But of course, you do you. Take care that all the threads are inside. And if your felt is really thin, you may want to cut these threads even closer so that it's not visible through the felt. My felt is quite nice, so I don't need that. And pay attention, I'm not putting the glue onto these flaps because we'll glue them the other way around. Now you can check out which part of your gnome has a nicer face area, and this will be the face. So we have to make the front of the cape here. Makes sense, right? You want to keep this part flush with your base. Otherwise the gnome won't stand up properly. And if you want to have this turned, you'll have to shape it the way you like it and glue it into place. Or you can also sew it into place. Or you can leave it like this. Up to you. For the cap, we do exactly the same thing. We take care that this thread is inside and we generously apply glue. If any glue seeps onto this side, just wipe it off. This glue turns transparent, but still it's nice if it's not there. Now we take care how we position. This seam will be in the back. And I put it onto my little gnome, and you see, that's it. Your gnome is done. If you want, you can glue this part down as well, but I'm not sure. I think I will let this one like this. We'll let it dry. And that's it. Once this dries up, your gnome is done. Who wants to play with me? I'm sure you'll find someone. Yay, he found his pals in the nature corner. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you want something more, subscribe to Very Arty Fairy. I bring you something new every Friday. See you next Friday. Bye bye.